Okay, we are talking about the Bhagavad Gita. We're doing this course, and we are on chapter 2. In the second video I did, the first video was an introduction. The second video was the first chapter, and now we're on the second chapter. And the second chapter is considered to be a summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. And if you only could read one chapter, this would be it, because this basically condenses the whole Bhagavad Gita into one chapter. I've been using the Eknath Eswaran translation, and also BhagavadGita.io is the website, www.bhagavadgita.io. It has the English translation, it has the Sanskrit. So I'm going to be reading the Sanskrit, and we're also going to be going through the English, and we're going to be talking about it, a little commentary on each verse. So here we go. And this chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, and Eknath Eswaran calls it self-realization, but it's generally known as Sankhya Yoga. Okay, here we go. Verse 1. Sanjaya uvacha tam tata kripa yavishta mashru purna kulekshanam Vishi dantamidam vakyam uvacha Sudanaha. Sanjaya said to him who was thus overcome with pity, despondent, with eyes full of tears and agitated. Madhusudana, the story of Madhu, which is an epithet of Krishna, name of Krishna, spoke these words. Okay, so the first chapter ended with Krishna and Arjuna. They're in the chariot, and they go to the middle of the battlefield, and they look at who's fighting on the other side. And they see, and Arjuna sees all of his kinsmen, basically, and he gets very agitated, very upset that he is going to go kill his own people, uncles and teachers and relatives, people he grew up with. He has to go do battle with them and to the death. He's very upset, and he says to Krishna, why are we doing this? This is horrible. Give me one good reason. And he's willing to listen to Krishna. He's willing to listen to Krishna's advice. Krishna is his friend and counselor. Krishna is actually an avatar of Vishnu, but it's not clear at this point that that's the case. Krishna is basically Vishnu incarnate. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmala Midam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Jushta Maswargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. The Blessed Lord said, "From whence has this perilous strait come upon you, this dejection which is unworthy of you, disgraceful, and which will close the gates of heaven upon you, O Arjuna?" Okay, so Krishna says, why are you so upset? This is not like you to be upset, or this is not befitting. He'll say more about this, okay? We'll keep going. Klebhyam ma sma gamaha parta naitat tvayupapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvo parantapa. Do not yield to impotence, O Arjuna, son of Pritha. It does not befit you. Cast off this mean weakness of the heart. Stand up, O conqueror of foes. So Krishna, you would think that Krishna would side with Arjuna in saying, this is madness. Why are we doing this? But the fact is that it's really either kill or be killed at this point. There's no turning back, really. And Arjuna actually makes the case that It's better if we let them kill us than if we fight. And Krishna is not going for that. He's saying, no, you have to fight. And this is not befitting of you as a warrior. Verse 4, here we go. Arjuna uvacha, katam bhishmam aham sankhye, dronam cha madhusudana, ishubhihi pratiyochami, puja havari sudana. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, how can I fight in battle with arrows against Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of being worshipped, O destroyer of enemies? Destroyer of enemies, again, being a name for Krishna. How can I fight against Bhishma and Drona, who were his own teachers? These were Arjuna's teachers from a young age. And Arjuna, keep in mind that Arjuna is basically like the greatest warrior of that time. He is of the warrior caste. He's a kshatriya. And it is his dharma, meaning it is his duty, his sacred duty, to fight in battles such as this one. Verse 5. Guru nahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum baik shyama pita loke hatvarta kamamstu guru nihaiva bunjiha bogan rutira pradigdhan. Better it is indeed in this world to accept alms than to slay the most noble teachers. But if I were to kill them, even in this world, all my enjoyments of wealth and fulfilled desires would be stained with their blood. This is a great argument that he's making. Not only is it basically sinful to kill great teachers like this, but how can I enjoy the world after this? How can life go on after killing these people? This is horrible. Verse 6. Na chaita dvidma katarano gariyo yadva jayema yadi va no jayeyu yaneva hadva na jij vishamaste vashtita pramuke daratrastraha. I can hardly tell which would be better, that we should conquer them or that they should conquer us. Even the sons of Dhritarashtra, whom we did not wish to slay, stand facing us. And Dhritarashtra, according to the tradition, had 100 sons. He had a lot of sons. Dhritarashtra is the blind king who is actually being told this story by his charioteer, whose name is Sanjaya. So Sanjaya is the narrator, and he is also relaying the story, communicating the story to Dhritarashtra, the blind king. Let's go on. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha prichami tvam dharma samudha chetaha yachreya shanishchitam bruhi tanme shishyaste ham shadhi mam tvam prapanam. My heart is overpowered by the taint of pity. My mind is confused as to my duty. Remember, the word for duty is dharma usually. I ask thee, tell me decisively what is good for me. I am thy disciple. He's saying this to Krishna. I am your disciple. Instruct me who has taken refuge in thee. So he's willing to listen to Krishna, even though he he's confused, and he basically does not want to fight. I think he's going to say that in the next verse. He 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 doesn't want to fight. But he's willing to listen to Krishna at least. Nahi prapashyami mama panudyad yach chokam uchchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumav asapatna mridam rajam suranamapi chadipatyam. I do not see that the sorrow that burns up my senses would be removed even if I were to attain prosperous and unrivaled dominion on earth or lordship over the gods. How can this sorrow that I am experiencing, I don't know how this ever could leave me. Even if I had everything, even if I had everything, this feeling that I have could not be quelled. Sanjaya uvacha evam uktva hrishikesham guda keshaha parantapa na yotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuva ha. Sanjaya said, this is the narrator now. Remember, Dhritarashtra's chariot driver, Sanjaya, the narrator. Having spoken thus to Hrishikesha, which is Krishna, the Lord of the senses, Arjuna, the conqueror of sleep and destroyer of foes, said, I will not fight, and became silent. So he says to Krishna, he's very confused, very upset. He says to Krishna, I will not fight, but I will listen to you at least. I'm not going to fight, at least not right now, but I'm going to listen to what you have to tell me. Okay. Tamuvacha Hrishikeshaha prahasaniva bharata sena yor ubayor madye vishidantam idam vachaha. To him who was despondent in the midst of the two armies, Krishna, smiling, O Bharata, spoke these words. Okay. So they're still in the middle of the two armies. Arjuna is like holding his head in his hands. He's very upset, very despondent. And Krishna is not upset. He's smiling. It's the opposite. And this is what he has to say. Verse 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan Anvashotchastvam Pragya Vadanshcha Bashase Gatasun Agatasun Suncha Nanushochanti Panditaha. The Blessed Lord said, you have grieved for those who should not be grieved for. Yet you speak words of wisdom. The wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. Verse 12, we'll talk about this. Na tvevaham jatu nasam na tvam nene jana dipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamataha param. Nor at any time was I not, nor thou, nor these rulers of men, nor verily shall we ever cease to be hereafter. Talk about this, okay? Dehinos mean yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tatra na muyati. Just as the embodied soul passes through childhood, youth, and old age in this body, so too does it pass into another body. The steadfast one does not grieve over this. Okay, the wise, the dhira, the steadfast person understands that the soul, the Atman is the term for soul, is immortal. The soul is immortal. The soul never dies. And so death is not the end, and death is not a tragedy. And you don't need to grieve over death, and you don't need to grieve when you see these things. Verse 14, Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkha da agama paino nityas tans titikshasva bharata. The contact of the senses with the objects, O son of Kunti, which causes heat and cold, pleasure and pain, has a beginning and an end. They are impermanent. Endure them bravely, O Arjuna. Okay, so Krishna is saying he's telling him that we live in a world of duality. In this world, there's hot and cold, pain and pleasure. Everything here is impermanent. You do, and thus you do not need to grieve, because what you see is an appearance and is not the reality. You're seeing through the senses, and you're seeing only an appearance. You are not seeing the reality of things, and thus you must learn to endure these things bravely. And Jesus said the same thing in the Gospel of John. Jesus says to you have to endure. Okay, so and we're going to bring in the Gospels and some other things as well as we go along here. And this is also the Bhagavad Gita was also a little bit after the time of Buddhism, when Buddhism came into being, probably actually 2 or 3 centuries at least after the life of Buddha. But the story might have gone back longer, but the Bhagavad Gita itself probably came after the time of the Buddha. Yam hi na vyatayantyete purusham purusharshaba samaduka sukham diram so mritat vaya kalpate. That firm man whom surely these afflictions do not, O chief among men, to whom pleasure and pain are the same, is fit for attaining immortality. This is verse 14 now. 15 rather. Those who are unaffected by these changes, who are the same in pleasure and pain, are truly wise and fit for immortality. Assert your strength and realize this. This is Eknath Iswaran's translation. The one that understands this is fit for immortality. That's what we're getting to here in this whole thing is how to get to this place of understanding. Verse 16. Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha ubayorapi drishto nta stvanayos tattva darshibihi. The unreal has no being. There is no non-being of the real. The truth about both of these has been seen by the knowers of truth, or the seers of the essence. The impermanent has no reality. Reality lies in the eternal. Those who have seen the boundary between these two have obtained the end of all knowledge. What is unreal has no true existence. And what is real is eternal. And those who see the difference are true knowers. They're truly wise. Verse 17. Avinashi tu tadvidi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Know that to be indestructible, by which all this is pervaded. No one can cause the destruction of that, the imperishable. So the imperishable is what cannot be destroyed, right? And that is behind all of the appearance, right? Behind all of the appearance of everything is this imperishable something. And that's what you need to know. That's what you need to get in touch with. Antavanta ime deha nityas yokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata. These bodies of the embodied self, which are eternal, indestructible, and immeasurable, are said to have an end. Therefore fight, O Arjuna. So don't be deluded by the body. The body is going to die at some point or another. The soul is immortal. The body will die. Don't be deluded and do your duty. Verse 19. Ya enam veti hantaram yas chainam manyate hatam ubau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. He who takes the self to be the slayer and he who thinks it is slain, neither of them knows. It does not slay, nor is it slain. There's a famous line in the Gita. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. It is not born, nor does it ever die. After having been, it again does not cease to be. Unborn, eternal, changeless, and ancient, it is not killed when the body is killed. So this self, which is another, you have to understand that the Atman, the soul, the individual soul, is the same as the supreme self, which is Brahman. This is not pointed out yet here, but so this Atman, the self, capital S, and you can also say small s, but generally the Atman is the soul or the self, and this is eternal, indestructible. Whoever knows it to be indestructible, Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katam sa purusha partha kam tayati hanti kam. Whoever knows it to be indestructible, eternal, unborn, and inexhaustible, how can that person slay, O Arjuna, or cause to be slain? So this is a point that gets made throughout, which is you're not really the one that's doing here. You are an actor in this play, in this drama of life. Do not take ultimate responsibility for what is not really ultimately you're doing even. This is a tough thing for us to grasp. And we'll talk more about it as we go along. Vasansi jirnani yata vihaya navani grinati naro parani tata sharirani vihaya jirnanya jnani sanyati navani dehi. Just as a man casts off worn out clothes and puts on new ones, so too the embodied self casts off worn out bodies and enters others that are new. This is now getting into reincarnation, the idea of reincarnation, that the soul never really, the soul doesn't die, but things keep taking different forms, right? Things keep taking different forms. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha na chainam kledayantyapo Na shoshayati marutaha. Weapons cannot cut it, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it. This is again talking about the self. Cannot be destroyed, cannot be killed. Achedyo yam adahyo yam akledyo shoshaeva chanitya sarvagata stanur achalo yam sanatanaha. This self cannot be cut, burned, wetted, nor dried up. It is eternal, all-pervasive, stable, immovable, and ancient. Verse 25. Avyakto yam achintyo yam avikaryo yam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanush shochitum arhasi. This self is said to be unmanifested, unthinkable, and unchangeable. Therefore, knowing this to be so, you should not grieve. And this is one of the main points here, is that Arjuna should not be upset. He shouldn't grieve, knowing now the truth, because Krishna is telling him the truth. He shouldn't grieve over the appearance versus the reality. Atat chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tattapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. But even if you thinkest of it as constantly being born and constantly dying, even then, O mighty armed one, thou should not grieve. Shouldn't grieve, even if you think that this self is born and dies. That's still an appearance. That's not even true either, right? Reincarnation is just an appearance, but it seems to be the truth. Don't grieve about anything. That's what it's coming down to here. Jatasya hi, this is verse 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharye hrite natvam shochitum arhasi. For the born, death is certain, and for the dead, birth is certain. Therefore, you should not grieve over the inevitable. Verse 28. Avyak tadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidanan yeva tatraka paridevana. Beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the middle state, O Arjuna, and unmanifest again in their end. What is there to grieve about? Verse 29. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschid enan ascharyavat vadati tataiva chanyaha ascharyavat chainam anya shrinoti shrutva pyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. One sees the self with a capital S, as a wonder. Another speaks of it as a wonder. Another hears of it as a wonder. Yet having heard, none understands it at all. It's hard to understand. That's a hard verse to understand. Would have to come back to that one. But I think it's just that this is a very difficult thing to understand. Dehi nityam avadyo yam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhasi. This indweller in the body of everyone is ever indestructible, O Arjuna. Therefore, you shall not grieve for any creature. Self is within all. The Atman is within all. It's indestructible. Do not grieve. Nothing ever dies. verse 31. Svadharmam api chavikshya na vikampitum arhasi dharmyadi yudach treyo nyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Further, having regard to your duty, swadharma is your duty, you should not waver. For there is nothing higher for kshatriya, which is a warrior. Remember that's the second caste after the Brahmins. The Brahmins is the priestly caste, and then the kshatriyas. There's nothing higher than a righteous war. So this is a just war, or a righteous war, Krishna is saying. And you should fight in this. You should fight and do your duty. And there's nothing higher for you than to do that. Verse 32. Yadrichaya chopa panam svarga dvaram apavritam sukina kshatriya partha labante yudham idrisham. Happy are the kshatriyas, O Arjuna, who are called to fight in such a battle that comes of its own accord as an open door to heaven. So this is a door to heaven. You should be happy about this, actually. Right? He's giving him other arguments now. He started with the highest, and now he's going down a little bit. Atachet tvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatasva dharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapyasi. But if you will not fight this righteous war, then having abandoned your own duty and reputation, you will incur sin. Okay, so if you don't do your duty, it'll be attributed sin. You will have sin because you will have committed a crime. Right? You have to do your duty. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranad atarichate. People also recount your everlasting dishonor, and for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So people will say he was dishonorable discharge if he doesn't fight, and that's even worse than death. Bayad ranad uparatam mansyante tvam maharataha yesham cha tvam bahu mato bhutva yasyasi lagavam. The great chariot warriors who think that you have withdrawn from the battle out of fear, the great chariot warriors will think that you have withdrawn from the battle out of fear, and you will be held in low esteem by those who have held you in high regard. So they will say, you are a coward, right? You're a coward, and that's why you're not fighting, and that's not going to be good either. Avacha vadanscha bahun vadishanti tavahitaha nindantastava samartyam tato dukkha taram nukim. Your enemies scoffing at your power will speak many abusive words. What could be more painful than this? You don't want that. Hato va prapsyasi svargam jitva va bokshyase mahim tasmad utishta kaunteya yudhaya krita nischaya. Slain, you will obtain heaven. Victorious, you will enjoy the earth. Therefore, stand up, O son of Kunti, resolved to fight. You can't lose here. You can't lose. So go to battle. Do your best. You can't get out of the battle either. There's no way to really get it. You're either going to do it or not. You're going to be killed. They're going to kill you if you don't fight. You're going to be called a coward. You're going to have dishonor, etc., etc. And if you do fight, yeah, you'll be killing people, but realize that the death is not the end, and you're doing your duty. And Krishna's trying to give him all the reasons to fight. Sukha dukhe same kritva laba labao jaya jayao tato yudaya yujasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Having made pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat equal, engage in battle for the sake of battle. Thus you shall not incur sin. So this is the main point of the Gita, actually. And this is throughout the Gita. This is something that Krishna says throughout the Gita, is that when you get to this place of indifference, when you see that there's no loss or gain here, ultimately. This is going back to the highest. When you realize that there's no loss or gain here, you do your duty and you get out, right? You do your duty, do what you have to do. Don't have any investment or stake in it. You will not grieve, and you will not have sin, and you will not have karma. When you get to that place of indifference, in a good way, it's a good indifference. It's not a bad indifference. 39. Eshate bihita sankye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandam prahasyasi. This which has been taught to you is wisdom concerning Sankhya. Now listen to wisdom concerning yoga, endowed with which, O Arjuna, you shall cast off the bonds of action. Now, this is an interesting verse, because you would think that Krishna has been talking about yoga up until now. But now, all of a sudden, he's saying, maybe what he's saying is, you have learned Sankhya in the past, but now I'm going to tell you about yoga. And he has been talking about yoga, actually. So I think that makes more sense. This translation, it makes more sense, is that you have learned about Sankhya, this philosophy, this philosophical tradition called Sankhya. But now I'm going to talk about another philosophical tradition called yoga, which obviously you don't know about because you're grieving, right? And so I need to teach you about this, because once you learn about this, then you will go beyond your grief, and you will learn to fight, like a man, basically. Verse 40. Neha bikrama nasho sti prat yavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this there is no loss of effort. In yoga there is no loss of effort, nor is there any harm produced, nor any transgression. Even a little of this knowledge protects one from great fear. So yoga, we'll have to talk about this. This is a verse that needs more, but you can't go wrong with yoga. Yoga, any step you take on the path of yoga is a positive one. There's no loss when you're on this path of yoga. And this whole the whole Gita, the rest of the Gita is all about, it's just Krishna talking about yoga, teaching Arjuna the secret of yoga. Even a little bit of yoga is going to protect you from great fear. You will work through your fear through yoga. Eventually you're going to get through all of your fear. Vyavasa yatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahu shaka hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Here, O joy of the Kurus, there is only one single point of determination. Many branched and endless are the thoughts of the indecisive. So in yoga, there's only one single point of determination. there's only one. There's a goal. There's a goal in sight. Right? Yoga means union. There is a goal, and that is union, and that is understanding the nature of reality. But everything else is taking you off into all different directions. And that's why you get confused. People are confused. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadant avipaschitaha veda vada rata parta nanyad astiti vadinaha kamat manaha svarga para janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bogaishwarya gatim prati. The unwise, taking pleasure in the eulogizing words of the Vedas, utter flowery speech, saying, "There is nothing else, O Arjuna." This is a put down of the Vedas. This is something that Buddha also, you find in the Buddhist scriptures, is that the Vedas are not the highest, and the Vedas, obviously this is based in the Vedas, but the Vedas alone are not the end all and be all. And you can get caught up in the letter of the law, so to speak, as you find in the Gospels, and miss the spirit of the law. Kamat manaha svarga para janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bogaishvarya gatim prati. Full of desires, with heaven as their goal, they speak words that are directed to ends leading to new births as the result of their works, and describe various methods abounding in specific actions for the attainment of pleasure and power. So these are the ones that are not on this path. They get caught up in the words, and they miss the spirit. They get caught up in seeking things other than the ultimate. And you don't want to miss what this is all really about. Bogaishvarya prasaktanam taya prita chetasam vyavasatyatmika buddhi samadau na vidiyate. For those who are attached to pleasure and power, whose minds are drawn away from such teachings, their determinate reason is not formed, which is steadily bent on meditation and samadhi. So Krishna is going to say this in a moment, but most people do not get to the point of having that single-minded focus, right? And that's what you need. And everyone gets caught up in other things. They get sidetracked. They get waylaid. Traigunya vishaya veda nistraigunyo bhavarjuna nirdvandvo nitya sattvasto niryoga kshema atmavan. The Vedas deal with the three attributes. Be thou above these three attributes, the gunas. These are the three gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas. O Arjuna, free yourself from the pairs of opposites, duality. Free yourself from duality and ever remain in the quality of sattva, freed from acquisition and preservation, and be established in the self. 46. Yavan arta uda pane sarvata sampluto dake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. To the Brahmana who has known the self, all the Vedas are of as much use as a reservoir of water would be in a place where there is a flood. So ultimately, the one who knows Brahman, the ultimate reality, is a Brahmana. And for the Brahmana, words don't do much at all anymore. They don't, right? It's all about the direct knowing, the direct experience, the direct knowing. That's what yoga is. Yoga is not merely words. theory can only take you so far. Words can only take you so far. We say as we read the next verse, 47. Karmanya eva dikaras te ma palesho kadachana ma karma pala hitor bur ma te sango stva karmani. Your right is only to work, but not to its results. Do not let the results of action be your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction. Everyone's got to do something in this life, right? We all have to do actions. Even someone who is meditating, right, is still acting. Don't think that you don't have to act. You always have to act. So when you do act in such a way that you let go of the results. Don't have expectations. Let go of the results of your action. Don't act selfishly. Act selflessly as best as you can. And that's throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna keeps saying that throughout. Yogasta kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya sidya sidyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. This is definition of yoga now that Krishna is giving. He says, perform action, O Arjuna, being steadfast in yoga, abandoning attachment, and balanced in success and failure. Evenness of mind is called yoga. So, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga is equanimity. Yoga is even-mindedness, because you are established in the self. You are established in the knowledge of reality, and every action you do is coming from that place. That's where you want to get to. That's what Krishna is trying to help Arjuna to get to that place. And that is what yoga is. Yoga is equanimity. Yoga is evenness of mind in every situation. Verse 49. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yogad dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripana pala hetavaha. Far lower than the yoga of wisdom is action, O Arjuna. Seek thou refuge in wisdom. Wretched are those whose motive is the fruit. So you want to be established in wisdom. You don't want to act. Selfish action is acting with a motive to get something, right? You don't want to have any kind of motive, ulterior motive. Buddhi yukto jahatita ube sukrita dushkrita tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. This is another definition of yoga. Endowed with wisdom and evenness of mind, one casts off in this life both good and evil deeds. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Yoga is skill in action. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in action, meaning that you act without selfish motive, what we just said. Verse 51, karma jam buddhi yukta hi palam tyaktva manishinaha janma banda vinir mukta padam gacchantiyanamayam. The wise, possessing knowledge, having abandoned the fruits of their actions and being freed from the bonds of birth, go to the place which is beyond all evil. So the wise realize the true nature of reality. In other words, that's what you get. That's the goal. That's the reward is to know reality, know the nature of reality. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotav yasya shutasya cha. When your intellect passes beyond the mire of delusion, then you will attain indifference to what has been heard and what has yet to be heard. So indifference, you will go beyond what people say. You will go beyond words. Shruti vipratipana te yada stasyati nischala samadhav achala buddhistada yogam avapyasi. When your intellect, which is perplexed by the Vedic text you have read, stands immovable and steady in the self, then you will attain self-realization. You want to get to that place of steadiness, absolute steadiness, immovability, equanimity. Then you will know. Then you will be a true knower. You have to rise above the intellect. You have to rise above the debate. There are debates about everything, right? You have to get beyond the words. Arjuna uvacha stita pragnasya ka basya samadhistasya keshavastita di kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the description of one who has steady wisdom and is merged in the superconscious state? How does one of steady wisdom speak? How do they sit? How do they walk? What does that look like?" Yeah, almost done. I'm almost done. Just about done. So Arjuna comes in here for a moment. He's like, "Krishna, what does this look like? What does a person like this look like? Give me the attributes of such a person. What are the qualities of such a person?" Sri Bhagavan uvacha prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyat yevatmana tushta stita pragyas tadochate. The Blessed Lord said, "When a man completely casts off, O Arjuna, all the desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self by the self, then he is said to be one of steady wisdom." He has no desires. This person has no desires. His desire is only for knowledge of the self, and thus he is called wise, someone of steady wisdom. Dukesh vanu dvigna mana sukeshu vigata spriha vita raga baya kroda stita dir munir uchyate. He whose mind is not shaken by adversity, who does not long for pleasures and is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. You free yourself of fear, anger, and attachment. You have no more desires, no more desire for pleasure. 57. Ya sarvatrana bishnehas tat prapya shubham nabi nandati na dveshti tasya pragya pratishtita. He who is everywhere without attachment, upon encountering anything good or bad, neither rejoices nor hastens. His wisdom is firm. His wisdom is firm. He's not in any hurry. He doesn't need anything. Infinitely patient. Yada sanharate chayam kurmo ganiva sarvashaha indriyanidriyardebhyas tasya pragna pratishtita. When, like the tortoise which withdraws all its limbs on all sides, he withdraws his senses from the sense objects, then his wisdom becomes steady. He has been able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, and thus he goes beyond appearances and he sees the truth. It could be a she, by the way. It doesn't have to be an he. I think I'm not going to read the Sanskrit for the last part here. I'm just going to read through, so we keep this to an hour. Okay. The objects, 59, the objects of the senses turn away from the abstinent man, leaving the longing behind, but his longing also turns away upon seeing the Supreme. The turbulent senses, O Arjuna, can violently carry away the mind of a wise person, even though they are striving to control them. Having restrained them all, he should sit steadfast, intent on me. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. When one thinks of objects, attachment to them arises. From attachment, desire is born. From desire, anger arises. Anger leads to delusion, which causes loss of memory. This, in turn, leads to the destruction of discrimination, resulting in destruction. But the self-controlled man, moving among objects with the senses, restrained and free from action and repulsion, attains peace. In that peace, all pains are destroyed, for the intellect of the tranquil-minded soon becomes steady. There is no knowledge of the self for the unsteady, and no meditation is possible for the unsteady, and no peace for the unmeditated. And how can there be happiness for one who has no peace? So the person who is not doing this work really is not at peace. That's the bottom line. That's most of us. For the mind, which follows in the wake of the wandering senses, carries away his discrimination as the wind carries away a boat on the waters. This person is at the mercy of emotions, anger being one of them, has a loss of memory and discrimination. Therefore, O mighty armed Arjuna, his knowledge is steady, whose senses are completely restrained from sense objects. That which is night to all beings, in that the self-controlled man is awake, when all beings are awake, that is night for the sage who sees. He attains peace into whom all desires enter, just as waters enter the ocean, which, filled from all sides, remains unmoved, but not the man who is full of desires. Person who is like an ocean of wisdom, they cannot be disturbed. That person attains peace who, abandoning all desires, moves about without longing, without the senses of ownership, and without egoism. The ego is gone. The ego is dissolved. I don't own anything. Nothing is mine. I am just here. I am just present. I am just to be of service. I have no needs and no desires. I will still enjoy life, but I'm not attached to any sense object. O son of Prita, this is the eternal state, the Brahmic seat. Attaining this, one is not deluded. Being established in it, one attains oneness with it, with Brahman, even at the end of life. So this might not happen until one dies, but you get established in this state of knowing, of true knowledge. And this is why people study the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita is an inspiration towards this in this regard, and people feel that the Bhagavad Gita really has something powerful to say about how we can attain true wisdom in this lifetime, such that we go beyond sorrow, we go beyond grief, and we find the eternal, the true love that we all seek, the true joy, the true love, the true peace. I hope this has been helpful. I'm sorry I didn't get to the Sanskrit at the end. The Bhagavad Gita is clearly something to take into consideration, maybe study, which is what we're doing. And this chapter that we did today, chapter 2, is considered to be a summary chapter. If you only read one chapter in the Gita, this could be it, because basically just about everything really important is said right here in this chapter. Not that other important things are not be said in other chapters, but this is, again, if you only had one, this would be it. So thank you for listening, and would love to hear any comments you might have. Is it helping? Did you learn something? And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.